Hey guys, so in this video we are going to see how to create the images for our game, how to create the sprites that we need to create the game in Scratch. Let me show you all the sprites that we need to create. I mean, this is everything that we need to create the game. I've shown this before, and in this video I'm just going to go over on how to create, for example, the laser cannon for the player. Everything else, I'm gonna make them available to you guys. I'm gonna put the link in the description. But I think this is a really cool activity to do. If you are teaching this to kids in the class, I think it's a really good, learning resource, them learning on how to create sprites, then understanding that they need to draw the pixels and everything. And it's even like a creativity exercise because they can also create their own laser cannon, their own invaders, and it's a cool activity. I think they can make the game their own. Each one may create their own version of Space Invaders because they can draw whatever they want. So I'm gonna go over on how to create one of the sprites, and then you can just replicate to create everything else. But either way, I'm also gonna make them available to you so you can just download and use it in the game right away. So, like I said before, we are going to be using Piskel. This is a free online editor to create sprites and pixel art. I found this when I was looking for editors of pixel art editors online. And this is a really cool one. I mean, it's totally free. It works online and offline, which I think it's also a plus. You can download it to your computer, so you don't need to worry about being connected to use it. And you don't need an account to use it. You have here an option to sign in, but it seems like from this notice that they are shutting down the accounts on the editor. But I think it's a plus that you don't need an account to use it. So you can just come to the site, open the site, and create sprite, and you're good to go. You can start drawing. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is set the image size. In this case, for the player, I'm using 20 by 20 pixels. So we need to resize our Piskel to that size. Initially, all pixels come with 32 by 32 pixels. And you can resize the Piskel here on the right. You have the resize button. So you're going to change 32 by 32 to 20 and do resize. And you can see that it resized the canvas. And you can also confirm that here on the bottom. So you have like 20 by 20. And when you are dragging the mouse, you can see that we have the coordinates of the current pixel where we are at, which might be helpful. And now we can start drawing. And the first thing we are going to see is how to create a palette to draw our sprites. In this case, it might not be very important because our palette is really easy to create. We only have like 3 colors. So we have the green, the white, and the red. But either way, I'm going to show you if you want to create more complex palettes and just quickly change between the colors. It's easier than it's always choosing the color here. So to create a palette, you can come here on the right, you have palettes, and you can manage this palette. And here you can choose the colors. So in this case, we're going to need, like I said, green, white, and red. Totally green, I mean totally white, and totally red. And we can choose it here on the picker, but you can also, so black, we don't need black, we need white actually. So white, you can just drag this to the top. Now we need green. We can drag this here, but this is not like pure green, let's say this way. A way to get pure green is to edit this code. This is an X code, and each 2 digits represent the colors red, green, or blue, RGB. So these first 2 digits are according to red, the amount of red. These ones are about the amount of green, and these ones are about the amount of blue. And the way to see this code is that, for example, in a very simple way, I'm not going to go over the X code and into a lot of detail. But if you have 0, 0, it means that the color has none of that color. So for example, here 0, 0, it means that we have none of blue. FF means we have like total of the color, the complete color, so FF green. And so we can change to have pure green. We can change the, sorry, what happened? Oh, yeah, here. We can change, yeah, it's the same. It's just like removing because we are duplicating, so it just removes. We can change the code to 00 FF 00. And in this case, it just changes to 0F0, which is the same. So right now we have pure green. And we can also create another one to have pure red, which following the same logic is gonna be F00. And you have like a really simple palette of colors. So you can just save, and now you have a palette here. So you don't need to be choosing the color every time here. Of course, you can just press and also choose the color here. Or right now, you can just come to the palette and press the color that you want, and also change it with the keys on the keyboard. So key number 1, number 2, and number 3, which is easier when you are painting with a lot of colors on the sprite, which we are not going to be doing in this case because it's really simple sprites. So how can we paint? So we have the pen tool, and the pen tool is the one that allows us to paint. So you can just press the left mouse button and it's going to paint the pixel with the selected color, with the primary color. And we also can have a secondary color. In this case, our secondary color is transparent, which is really useful in this case because we can use the secondary color to just delete what we just painted. You also have an eraser tool that you can use, and that has the same effect, but you don't need to change. If you have like the secondary color with transparent, you don't need to change between tools. So you can just use the left mouse button and the right mouse button to delete, which is cool. Now, some other tools. We also have the paint bucket that paints an entire area with the selected color. So you can paint primary color, secondary color. The eraser tool, like I just showed you. We have a stroke tool if you want to create strokes. So with any direction, you know. I'm just gonna delete this. Yeah. You have the rectangle tool, and you have the circle tool to create different shapes. Let me just, yeah, I needed to draw the circle right on top of the other one to delete it. So yeah. Then these are like the main tools. We are gonna basically using the pen tool and maybe the rectangle tool. Oh, you also have this tool, which is really cool because if you see here, most sprites that we have, like the most complex ones at least, are symmetrical. So the laser cannon is completely symmetrical. The invaders are symmetrical as well, at least on the left and the right side. The mystery ship as well. And one cool tool is this one vertical mirror pen. And what this does is that it mirrors what you are drawing on the selected axis. And here we have two axes. So we have the y-axis, which is a vertical one, and we have the x-axis, which is a horizontal one. So when you select the tool, and you can see when you drag the mouse over the button, you have the default mode is a vertical mirror pen, which means that everything that you draw is gonna mirror what you're drawing on the vertical axis. So you can see this like if you have like an axis here in the middle, vertical axis in the middle. So what you are drawing here is going to repeat on the right side. And the same, if you draw on the right side, it's going to repeat on the left. But then you have some other options which are also cool because you can use only the horizontal axis, and that means that it will work as if you had like a line here, and what you draw on top, this one, what you draw on top, sorry, I'm making some mistakes here. Oh yeah, to activate the horizontal axis, you need to press Control. Sorry, I forgot. So what you draw on top, it's gonna also draw on the bottom, and the same the other way around. And you also have the option to draw, to mirror on both axes at the same time, so vertical and horizontal. That's by pressing Shift. Yeah, so press Shift and you can see that it will mirror. So I'm drawing on the top left, so it's going to mirror to the top right and bottom left. This is a pretty useful tool when you are drawing more complex shapes. I don't know if you are going to be using it right now, but I think it's good to know. Now, some more things that we need to see. Sorry, I have some notes that I try to follow, and I'm just checking them. Yeah, also have the pen size, which can also be useful. So you can see that by default we are drawing 1 pixel at a time, but you can also change it from 1 to 4 pixels at a time, which might be useful as well. And I think that's it. So let's see how we can create the laser cannon. So let me just go over to our sprite. This is not exactly the same as the original one. You can see like the format is a little bit different, but it works. So to draw the laser cannon, maybe we're going to start by drawing a rectangle that's going to define the main body, like this one here, and then just add these details. So I'm going to create a rectangle, something like this. Then we can use the paint bucket to paint the inside. And then let me see, yeah. And then probably just going to use these ones here, so it's bigger. And then we can add these details. This here, something like this. Yeah, and then in the middle we are going to create, I'm not using the mirror tool, but just because I'm not used to it, and something like this. Yeah, it looks good. Just probably gonna add, yeah, some more detail here and here. Now I use the mirror tool, yeah, and here. Yeah, it looks good. You can see that I didn't worry about centering the laser cannon on the sprite, and right now I don't think it's centered because the distance here is different from the distance here, and we wanted to have it centered because when we are positioning the sprite, the image on the canvas, I mean the whole area of the game, it's going to be easier to calculate if it's on the right spot. So to center this whole layer, you can have the transform tools here, and you can align image to the center. And you can see right now, yeah. So we have 3, okay, 4. Because it's not symmetrical on the vertical, on the height. So yeah, it's centered. And you also have some other tools here that we are probably not going to use, but you can just have a look at them. So you can flip the sprite horizontally or vertically, and you can rotate and clone current layer to all frames. And you can clone this to all frames. I know. Maybe it's gonna duplicate the layer and apply if you have different frames. We're gonna go over frames in a bit. So this is the default sprite that we are going to use for the laser cannon. Now what we need is to create these 2 other sprites. These 2 other sprites are going to be used when the player is destroyed. When the player is destroyed, it has a small animation, like it is exploding. And we are going to be using these 2 sprites to create that animation. Animations basically work with frames. When I say frames, it's like when we have more than one image and we cycle through that images to create the illusion of movement. So when we change from this sprite to this one, you can see like if the ship is exploding, you know, and you have like all these parts just coming off the laser cannon. So here we can create new frames. Here on the left, you can add a new frame, and you can see the animation that would result from having these 2 frames here on the right. And right now you can see it is blinking, and it's blinking because it's changing between the first sprite, which has the image, and the second one, which is completely transparent. And so the image is like appearing and disappearing, giving us this effect. You can also control the speed of the animation, and the speed is in frames per second. So this is the amount of time that each frame is shown on screen. So you can see 1 frame per second. Each image will be shown on screen 1 second. And we can increase that, and we can also disable the preview, this animation, by putting on 0 FPS. You can see that we, despite being the second frame being selected, we can see what it looks like the other one. That's because we have the onion skin, and the onion skin that does exactly that. I mean, when we are drawing a new frame, we can see how the other frame looks like. And I think this is really useful. Maybe not on this case, but it's really useful when we are creating animations, for example, like a walking cycle and stuff like that, where you need to position the legs and the arms, and you can see exactly where the arm was before or where the leg was before, so you can know exactly where you're going to draw it next, how it's going to move. Probably this is why it's we have this onion skin tool. In this case, since it's really simple, I don't know if it's that useful. So, to create these other sprites, basically what we are going to do is destroy the first one. So we're going to take this first one and destroy it a bit, and then destroy it a lot more. So let's just delete this frame, and we can duplicate the frame, so we can start destroying it. And to destroy the ship, you can see that I removed the top part, and then just remove something on the inside, and added small pixels on top, to give the illusion that they are coming off the main body. So we can come here on our second frame and just delete this top part, something like this, and then we can create some lines like this. It seems that the body is being destroyed. I'm not going to make it too... yeah, something like this, and then we can add yeah. So this is our first frame. It looks like the ship is being destroyed. So you just see, if I put this here, yeah, you see, it gives the illusion that the ship has exploded. And then we can duplicate the second frame to have another one, and we're going to destroy a little bit more. So I'm just going to remove a little bit more of the ship, something like this. Not the ship, I keep saying ship, but this is a laser cannon, but you know what I mean. And like this, and I'm gonna add a few more parts like this. And yeah, it looks like it's being destroyed. Let me see. Now we can just and give that impression that it's being destroyed. Of course, right now we are seeing the animation with all the frames, but when we will create the animation in the game, we are going to use only the second and the third frame to create the proper animation. So the first one is just a default one that we're going to use all the time. And this is it. I mean, this is our sprite for the laser cannon. It's a really simple sprite, a really simple image, but I think it's really fun to create. And you have all these other ones that you can be more creative with, you know, like the invaders and everything, I think, and the mystery ship, which is cool. And now let's see how we can export this to our computer. First of all, I didn't mention this, but you can save. I mean, since you don't have an account and you don't have an account on the Piskel app, and you need to you should save this in a way that you can edit later, you know, because when you come to the Piskel app, you don't have an account to go see, okay, well, where are the files that I've created so far. So they give you two ways to do this. You can save offline in the browser. I don't like this method very much. I didn't try it, but it's not my favorite one because it's only related to this browser. You only have access to your sprites on the same browser where you created them, and you don't have the actual file. So I prefer to have the file, and you can just create here, for example, laser cannon, and you can save as a Piskel. And it's going to create a file with their own format. You can see it here. You can have their own format that can just, when you can just like import or open the file again here on the import, and you can browse Piskel file, and you can just import the file and keep on editing and save it again to the Piskel file. And so you always have the file with you, and you can keep editing as long as you want. So But to use in the game, we cannot use a Piskel file. This is like their own format for the editor. We need to export this as images. So you also have that option here. So you have the save and you have the export. And to export, you can scale the image when you are exporting if you want a different size. In this case, we want a 20 by 20 because we created like this. It usually has the PNG option selected by default. And this one creates a sprite sheet. A sprite sheet is going to be like an image with all the sprites together, something like this. To be something exactly like this. Like it will give you an image with all the sprites together, and this is a sprite sheet. And some engines, game engines, use sprite sheets instead of separate sprites to create the animations and everything. In this case, in Scratch, we are not going to be using it. We need the images to be separated, so we can just import into Scratch separated, and then we'll do the animation inside Scratch. So to have all the images, you can just export your Piskel and all the frames as a zip file. So you're going to have like a container with all the images inside. I'm going to remove this prefix. We don't need it. And we can just download the zip file. So you have it here. I'm just going to extract this and play the camera. And you see that we have our 3 images. And so you can see like the animation, the destroying animation will be something like this. Looks like it is exploding. But it looks a little bit strange because you see that these pixels don't change. No, I cannot like cycle when I'm zooming in the image. You can see that those pixels don't change, but you get the idea. And that's it about creating sprites, I think. Yeah. So now you can have fun creating all the other sprites that you need. But like I said before, I'm gonna give you all these sprites to you, the ones that I designed earlier. And then on the next lesson, we'll see how to import the sprites into Scratch and maybe start creating the laser cannon. That's it. Thanks.